What's good, y'all? It's Miss Wisdom of the Wisdom Press, and we are back with another TikTok. In this particular TikTok story, we have a wife who finds out that her husband was not only cheating on her with the ex-girlfriend, aka now the mistress, but also had a whole baby on her. And apparently the mistress was trying to take the wife out, turn her TV off. But the wife got fed up and she said, no motherfucker way, and moved the whole damn house on his ass while he was at work. And you want to know what started all this? Because the wife's grandmother came to her in a dream and said, your man ain't shit and he cheating on you. Sometimes it's good to listen to those spirits. Sometimes it's good to listen to those voices in your head. But hey, check the video out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. All right, here we go.
Deceased grandmother came to me in a dream and showed me that my husband was cheating. I remember my husband was about to leave the house. So this particular night I was extremely sleepy and I hadn't got much rest. I remember my husband was about to leave the house and for some reason I was overwhelmed with thankfulness, saying that I love him, I love him, I love him. So I told him, I love you so much. Something about saying I love you so much always did something in the relationships that I've had with men. When I say I love you so much, within 24 hours, there's something that I find out about the man that will stop me from loving him so much. I said, I love you so much. And he responded back, I love you too. In the dream, I was walking up the steps of the house that I grew up in. I grew up with my grandmother. I knew I was in a familiar place, but I also knew that I had stepped into a past place, and it was scary. In this dream, when I made it in the house, she, shh, be quiet, Nada, be quiet. I knew it was her voice, but I couldn't see her. So she walked me to the back in the room that I grew up in, and I stood there and I looked around, and in the dream, I was wondering why was I there, but then I heard his ex's voice. And I heard him laugh. He walked into the living room and she was on the floor performing. She was on her hands and knees. She was twerking and bouncing and sliding up and down the floor. I was standing right over her and she didn't see me. It was like I was a spirit. I looked up and I saw him. He was smiling, talking about how good she looked. And yeah, baby, yeah, like that, like that. She was laughing and she was saying, you like this? I could see my grandmother appear. My grandmother said, I love you so much. And that was the same exact thing that I had told him before he left the house that night. I trusted that I was the only woman in his life and the only one that he would love for life, but it was a lie. My grandmother had me stand there and watch, and she just kept saying, Nada, watch. I continued to watch him and his ex. She got on her knees, unzipped his pants. She said to him, do your woman do it like this? And he smiled and he chuckled, and his chest poked out. With arrogance, he continued to allow her to please him. And I watched. And my grandmother continued to say, Nada, I love you so much. He held her up against the wall, right there in front of me. My heart was racing. I could then feel my grandmother wrapping her arms around me, even though I could only see her silhouette. And she held me, and she said it one more time. She said, Nada, I love you so much. I woke up from the dream. 2 days later, I questioned him. He began to stutter and fluster over his words. After first, he remained quiet for a while. I said, when was the last time you saw your ex? And he was like, nah, none of that's going on. Truth was, all of that was going on. I then told him, when we got in this relationship, I asked you, were you done? And you advised me that you were. You said that there was nothing back there for you. Anything in your past was already gone and you would not return to your vomit. But yet, I feel like you may have. So what I'm saying to you is, any game that you play, you will always be exposed, because I prayed before I moved on into another relationship that all of the things that happened in the past would not repeat themselves, especially without me knowing. And when I knew, I would have the strength to walk away from what was old. One thing about spirits is they travel. And another thing about a spirit is they are familiar. So come to find out, he was cheating with his ex. Not only had he cheated with his ex, but he had also made a baby with her. My grandma allowed me to experience astral projection, which is a supernatural phenomenon, also known as spiritual travel. is an experience where one leaves the body and is able to travel the universe in real time. That explains why I was so sleepy that day. It was somewhere that she wanted to take me. I had this dream on the weekend and I went to work on Monday morning. He worked nights. I had talked to him before I clocked into work that day, and he said that he was about to go to sleep. We lived on the other side of town, about an hour away. There was something that happened and quickened in me while I was working that day. I could not rest. Something kept telling me to go and wash my car. There was a car wash about 14 minutes away from my job. I didn't understand it. Usually I did not take lunch breaks. For some reason, this particular day, I could not rest. I did need to wash my car, and it had been a week or so that I had put it off because of rain, but I was obedient. I got up, I locked the computer after clocking out, and I drove to that car wash. When I was pulling up to the car wash, I looked at the parking lot next to it, which was a pizza place, and there was my husband's car. I didn't know him to be in that area previously for any reason, and for him to be in the pizza parking lot that he was in was very strange. Nervousness immediately began to overtake me. My heart was racing. I stared at the car, but no one was in there, so I thought maybe he was in the pizza place, but he wasn't. My emotions were on high. I sat in the car for a few minutes so that I can calm down. I pulled out from the vacuum space and I drove into the parking lot, the pizza parking lot, to see if he would come out of the door. But he didn't come out of the door, and I looked through the parking lot. There was a Jeep parked right next to his car. He was in the passenger side and she was on the driver's side. He looked to his right and saw me, and it looked like he had seen a ghost. At this time, I had never seen his ex. I had simply heard her voice because she found my number and called me one day. He wound the window down and immediately said, "That's my cousin," and said, "Get out of the car. Get out." The only thing that I said to him was, "I'll always know." The next morning, I woke up to an inbox message on Facebook. It was his ex. So the inbox message on Facebook read, "I need your address because apparently his mama is playing games with me." His mama was supposed to give me your address so that he can be served with paternity test request papers along with child support. I was his sneaky link for far too long, I guess. I just had a baby in November. I've been quiet long enough. You walking around thinking somebody want him. Nobody want him. He cheated on you your entire engagement. I don't want him. He good for nothing. Silence is golden. I didn't respond to her, and it drove her crazy. So suddenly I started getting messages under my videos from fake pages. "Ma'am, I didn't help you locate him to sneaky link with him. I'm not helping you to locate him to serve no papers." Lo and behold, about 2 weeks later, I heard a knock on the door. He was at work. It was the police, serving papers. Guess who gave her my address? You got it. It was his mama. At that time, we were living in a mobile home that I had paid off prior to us getting married, so I owned it. It was 100% in my name. I had been trying to sell that mobile home after the 100-year flood caused me to have to move to a parish that I did not want to be in. Ironically, that same week, I got a message from a lady that said that she had the cash money and she wanted to purchase the mobile home on the spot. We scheduled a time and date with the movers to have the mobile home moved. And while he was at work, I moved the whole house. I moved the whole house.
Creep on in, on in, on in. Creep on in, on in, on in. Creep on in, on in, on in.
Fresh out on the beat.
Boss it up, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it up, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it up, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it, make it go, make it go, go, boss it, go, make it go, boss it, go, make it go, boss it, go, make it go, boss it, make it go, 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 make it go,
Fresh out on the beat.
Boss it up, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it up, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it up, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it, boss it, make it go. Creep on in, on in, on in.